action. Hello everyone, I'm Joseph Roberson, aka Professor Joe of both King Talk Podcast and the Professor Joe Show. And you're currently watching myself and Keasuc Hill on our series Afterlife on the Professor Joe Show. So here we are, Key. So what I wanted to ask about real quick, I saw on social media, at some point too, we got to tell people how to find you on social media just in case they don't know, right?
Okay, yeah.
But maybe how to find me too, I'll tell you that later. I saw some posts you had done of an event you were at, where both yourself and then there was a Latino brother I heard doing some poetry, which I just thought was so meaningful. I also appreciated his delivery too. Right. But can you tell us what that event was? What was
it was called Trauma to Transformation.
Okay.
And it's out of Keasuc's press, one of the only libraries that's still functional, community libraries that's still functional in the San Fernando Valley. And it's a trip. You should support it. But we got this program what we call Trauma to Transformation. Okay. And we got the Fiona, or the 4 kinds of warriors.
Gotcha.
Now, the Fiona is a subject I want to talk about later too,
gotcha,
because it's relevant as it relates to history and literature. But we utilize the arts and poetry to reach at-risk youth or people who may have gone through some type of trauma.
Right.
And so what we want to do is we want to take the power of art and use it as a tool to transform trauma into something grand or something beautiful. Okay. And oftentimes we don't realize that it's in the arts that we find healing. See, and when you look at the word health, in the word health you find heal. Okay. And when you look at diet, in the word diet you find die. So we got to be careful, about where we get our medicines, what we title medicine.
I'm stuck, Key, because you said something. I was just going to let it go, but then I thought, no, because if I'm unaware, maybe other people are as well. Community library. So when you say community library, to me, I just think of whatever public library is in my community.
Public library is different than community library.
Okay.
See, a community library is where we gather, where all the community itself, a community-based gathering. Okay. Where you might find, more of a commonality, a family or a community origin, where the community itself is the primary focus. Okay. When you got a public library, they're just there to issue you books.
Right.
Books that may be, donated, etc. But when you go to a community library, you're dealing with the community itself. You're dealing with the youth of that community, etc. And there's a lot of community libraries around unsupported.
And this one was called?
And this one is called Keasuc's. One of the most popular in LA back in the 80s was Dawa Bookstore. Okay. Now you go into there's no books in there anymore. But this place started off as a community library.
And if I go in there, the one you were at, what type of books are present? Ones that would address everything, anything, or just
mostly social issues?
Okay.
You'll find the books. Most of the books that you'll find in a community library, you may not find in a public library. Okay. And that's the thing about education. That's what we are playing with today, as today's society, is the dissemination of knowledge. Like we always talk about power and knowledge.
Right.
Well, if there is power and knowledge, then under what time in history that this government or this society has been trying to render power or give power to anybody. You see it? You know what I'm saying? So, so it kind of makes you think, is there truth in that word? And, as it relates to this society.
Right.
It's very true.
And I would say this. I would say knowledge, information in and of itself isn't knowledge. However, we could look at it as part of the foundation of knowledge, so therefore it begs the question too of, are we being fed or given information or disinformation? So
controlled information.
Right, that does really give a foundation to the importance of making sure we are getting the right information, I think too, just for me to say it, as part of my personality, I'm just this way. That doesn't take away the benefit or blessings of public libraries right? Because we all need to go search out some of the information we want and have an ability to reference it to other information in books. But that still most definitely is helpful to us because we do need places to go get information that is about us, that is provided by us, so to speak.
Right.
Which kind of begs something else we were talking about, just in terms of our story and where are we getting it from.
Exactly.
For me, that kind of, especially now that I'm 47, and I brought it up in a previous discussion we had, but sometimes it's bothersome to me that I just really didn't listen to my grandmother. I didn't want to sit when I was young and hear those stories. So when either my grandmothers were talking to me, I wasn't really listening attentively. And now I'm at an age where I have an insatiable appetite for knowing my family history. Right. And, you know, some of those opportunities have passed me by because when I search it, we don't really have that matriarch available anymore who knows our lineage and our history in that way.
Right.
You know?
And that's part of the thing about, you know, the way that this society's education is given. One of the things about public libraries, one of the things about public libraries is it doesn't necessarily see to the need of the people. It doesn't speak to the need of the people. When you talk about a community library, right, you go into these libraries, you see literature that speaks to the need of the people. I've walked into several public libraries, and the man I work with, Luis Rodriguez, you know, he and Trini Rodriguez are the founders of Tia Chuchas, community-based, and it's literally translated Auntie Chucha, you know, because of the matriarchal inspiration that was passed down to him. Now, he was an ex-gang member from Los Angeles, you know, been to prison, hooked on drugs, turned his life around through poetry, through literature, through writing. Right. And he wrote these books, Always Running, and you know, and all of this stuff that he's done for the community. But you won't find it necessarily in a public library. Right. You know, and I've been in it and I'm looking, why don't I see this man's name in these libraries when I know they exist? Now this man is traveling all over the world to read poetry. Yeah. But we don't know about it.
Part of it is who values it, right? And what is the value of it? You mentioned earlier that it has a transformative value, but to whom? And is there any thought as it relates to the powers to be to empower?
See, this is the thing about value. Value is value regardless of whether or not it's valuable to you or not. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if it's of true value,
to me it does,
be
but not
valuable.
But not to everyone.
This what I'm saying is this literature is valuable information in that it's our story being told by us. See, we've been so force-fed with other people's perception and stories about us, you know, that we don't even realize who we are anymore in the process.
That we believe it.
We believe it.
And if you come with any narrative counter to that, you might have a problem with it.
So, and I mean, and it hurts when you really dig deep into this information because one of my favorite books was Roots by Alex Haley, and you find out that it was plagiary. It was a plagiarized, fictitious book, but he made it
based
seem
on
like
what too? I read that somewhere. Based on, was it an English? It
was based on a book called the African,
something of that nature.
And I can't remember the actual author's name. I'm talking about everything down from the name Kunta Kinte and everything.
Yeah. And Toby, which means because I had looked this up before. I read it somewhere. Toby actually had a meaning itself. Dang it! Hey, go look it up.
Yeah, Toby did have a meaning. I know that Kunta Kinte is a Choctaw word.
Okay.
That means whistling beaver.
Okay.
So, and Toby does also have another meaning. Yeah. It's also in Choctaw language. Right. But the author was using Choctaw tradition. Right. And you would wonder, why is he using Choctaw tradition and not African tradition? You know, because we weren't Africans
when they got going somewhere. You're going somewhere. Some people
it's true, but it's It's the truth. The knowledge is out there. The knowledge is verifiable. They can go. It's just that we've been conditioned not to look for it there.
Hey, but when you say look for it there.
Yeah. In history.
But I say there is likely in a book.
Yeah.
Which goes back to that one statement, which I almost don't like repeating, but they say if you want to hide stuff,
put it in a book.
Yeah,
it's true. This is why one of the most profound books on the subject matter that we're discussing now costs like $6,000. Why would a book cost that much money?
Yeah, what benefit would it be?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if that book costs that much money,
and we're not just talking.
That means you.
Are we just talking about the original book?
No, we talking about a copy of this.
A copy
book.
of it is $6,000.
Yeah.
I think that's important to understand because someone could say.
I think it's called America or the American History, but it's written like the 16. Well, it's written early stages of America, like the early 18th century.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. So it's an old book, but it's in the Library of Congress. This book is found in there.
But even a copy. And we're not talking about the original one.
Here's the thing.
The original manuscript. We're talking about a copy.
A copy. Not the you can't even touch the original manuscript.
$6,000.
But we're talking about $6,000, $6 grand. Man. Well, who would pay $6 grand for a book?
So there's a reason.
But then when you find out that some people have, Dan Calloway, different historians or researchers have gone in to see what was hidden in these books. Right. And you find out that everything that I'm saying now is the truth, that we were actually here. And people have already known that the so-called Negro has always been the original inhabitant of America. They fed us an idea that Native American was the first people. But at the same time, they tell us that Native Americans were descendants of Siberians who crossed the Bering Straits.
Hey, watch this. You're going to make some folks not like you, right?
I mean,
okay
it's not me
You're okay
that
with
they're
that.
not liking.
But
am I lying?
The bearer of the
13,000 years ago. This is verifiable. I'm not saying anything new.
Right.
This is what they'll teach.
But if it undermines people's belief system.
Belief doesn't mean truth.
That they've been fed. I hear you.
Belief doesn't mean truth. That's what they hated Malcolm for.
Yeah.
That's what some people hated Medgar Evers for. That's what they hated Marcus Garvey for. W.E.B. Du Bois for. Martin Luther King for.
So you're okay being amongst that group, huh?
Well, I don't even think I'm worthy to be named.
I hear you. Hey, but nobody do when they're lying.
It's still the same thing. Yeah. It's the truth, that people need to hear because it goes to how we see the world around us. You don't ever want.
Hey, real quick, though, watch this. I shouldn't have just let that go that quickly. You don't see yourself amongst that group, my brother. I was speaking on my own behalf. You feel me? So I respect what you don't see about yourself. But I just thought I'd let you take away value for what I'm saying. I see you as a leader in the community. Also, just even in relationship to the poetry, my brother. So one of the reasons I even wanted to put the book right here, Serengeti Noise, is I think when we talk, poetry almost is cathartic for you. It has, like you said, that transformative value.
Right.
And but it's not something that we're taught as young men growing up, that it has a direct connection to masculinity, especially hypermasculinity or any level of masculinity. So therefore, I'm just appreciative, again, of hearing you say that because of what you do represent. So no, as it relates to me, my brother, no, I do put you as a leader in the community. And I use the word hero, my king. I use that word. I'm not scared to use that word. I stand by that, because you speak the truth courageously. So even as I sit here in this role, so me and you have a discussion, and you already know there's a reason I want to create this platform, and we want to create this platform based on feeling a need to offer something to our community, based on both feeling blessed to be in our current circumstances and alive and in reasonably good health. So no, I value you at that level because I think this message is that important. And I think young people need to hear it. So no, most definitely, I see that.
And we do. And like I said, the part of the show that we did for Trauma to Transformation in Pomona at the Cafe Con Libros. Man, it's a nice environment. But one of the things that we spoke about was expressing our own narrative, taking control of our own narrative, and using the power of words to do it.
Right.
Because words are powerful. And you can say it enough.
They can give life, they can take
listen,
life.
Alphabets are actually runes.
Yeah.
And runes, we know, were symbols used to once put together to cast spells.
Right.
You want to cast a spell, put runes together, and it's called spelling.
Okay. Yeah.
So today we do the same thing. We take alphabets and we put alphabets together that produce a certain kind of sound, and we call that process spelling. And the power of word can cast spells.
Right.
You can tell a person you love them so much that you can love them right up out of depression. Or you can tell the happiest person that they're nothing and worthless so much that they become exactly what you
and that they believe
express.
They become
Exactly.
self-fulfilling prophecies of what they've been told.
With the power of this understanding, imagine if you can control how a person views themselves.
Hey, watch this. Hold on. Don't imagine, my brother. I
It's
live
happening.
it. I live it. I've seen it.
And this
I live
is
it.
what
I've
I wanted
seen
to
it.
point out about education. Because we have adopted a construct as humanity. I'm talking about everybody in America. Everybody, mostly in the world, certain parts. And those who don't comply end up, we know how they end up. But in the world, we have been force-fed a construct.
Right.
And we've adopted this construct as identity. White, black, brown,
Right.
yellow.
Yeah.
These are all, according to the English language, adjectives. They're colors. And an adjective is used to describe a noun. A noun is a person, a place, or a thing. So if I was to ask who you were as a person, as an identity, you would give me your description.
Yeah.
And a false description. You would say, I'm black.
Right.
But you're not black.
Right.
Not only that,
Right.
black is not a noun, it's an adjective. It describes a noun, and I was speaking to who you were as a noun, as a person.
Hey, then once I say I'm black, I begin to accept whatever narrative has
that
been
comes
provided
with
to me
that
with being
term.
black. So that's why when you just said imagine, I'm like, I ain't got to imagine. My brother, I've
But
already lived
the
it.
whites
I've
are
seen
subject to it also.
as well.
Because when you study ancient Celtic tradition, or the Irish, tradition, the Fighting Irish, Boston Celtics, they say Celtics, but it's actually pronounced Celtic.
Right.
The Boston Celtics, when you study their tradition and who they were as a people, you will find just how much of their humanity they have compromised for the sake of being, labeled white in the fictitious, in the construct. So to be white, you've given up all of that tradition and culture and language and art. For the people who were Danish, the Danes who are now English, to become white, you've given up all of that tradition.
I'm
you
sorry.
know what I'm saying?
Hey, Key, I'm sorry. I can't ignore the ringtone. The ringtone is a wolf, because I know that's you,
man,
too.
That's me. I'm
that's
a wolf,
you.
man. That's my spirit.
Hey, you did that smooth. He was like, hey, right? Yeah. But I can't ignore the fact that I know, okay, that's your identity.
Yeah.
That's part of...
That's part of
okay,
my spirit,
man. Hey, what was I about to ask you, too? Is it okay if I ask you about the two places you said you were at? I'd like to know what poem you read, but... Who was the Latino brother? Because first thing I noticed is
his name was Ape, A-P-E, A.P.E.
Okay.
And he came with the group Immortal Technique.
Okay.
He came with that group.
I'm familiar with that name.
Yeah, he's the DJ, Immortal Technique.
Okay. Hey, look.
Yeah.
He's fierce. He's fierce.
Man,
He's fierce.
the dude came with it.
Yeah.
Not only him, see, you didn't get to see a lot. I didn't post a lot.
Okay.
Because there's another brother that's a part of our team. Two other brothers that's actually a part of our team. Ramiro Rodriguez, which is the son of Luis Rodriguez that I was telling you about. Originally from Chicago.
Okay.
Found.
Okay.
But there's another brother from Jacksonville, Florida, named Matthew Cuban. I call him Braveheart, because this dude is fire, man. He's fire. So And it was also, you hear some youth, man, that get up there that we didn't get to record. And that's my thing. You saw an ape. You may have saw me.
Yeah.
But there was so much talent in that environment. And this is the power of the spoken word and the power of education, because the youth need that. And in life, I know I jump around a lot. I got
Let's jump around, man.
brains.
Hey, look, that's why we're doing our own thing. So we can jump around at will.
Life and existence, in life and existence, everything is, predicated or based on reciprocal relations. Right? Yin and yang, up and down. Everything that we go, it involves reciprocal relations. And one of the things about mentoring is it feeds right into that natural genre. You know what I'm saying? Of reciprocal relations. Because as an elder, you receive vitality or virality from the youth, because they give you something. They give you their youth. Yeah. But in turn, they're waiting for something. Right. You have to feed what's been given. Right. Because once you give something, there's something missing, and you have to replace it.
Hey, I share that thought process.
So, as elders, we replace it by giving them wisdom and understanding. Insight,
based
all of
on
it.
Our experiences of life,
we have to.
And our observation of the experiences of others.
We have to.
Which is why I feel so strong about just the what word am I looking for, as it relates to media and the images, as it relates to substance use.
Right.
Because, my brother, I've had experiences in life, intimate experiences.
Yeah.
So why am I going to let young people sit there? And now, you can't always make a person listen to you. You have to be willing to let them go have their own experiences in life. But I just know the message being presented in various forms of media, especially music, especially at this point, hip hop music and pop culture. Hey, this is not really giving you an understanding of the reality of what you're going to encounter if you do this. So guess what I'm going to do? I appreciate your youthful energy and what you're willing to share with me, and therefore I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be forthright. And I'm going to tell you these stories so you understand these long-term consequences, not because they sound beautiful and great, but because I want you to know about some of this hurt and pain, if that could prevent you from experiencing it. And then in return, even as it relates to my occupation, my brother, I'm not foolish. I benefit from being around all the young people I'm around, even the young athletes I'm around, because it makes me more consciously aware of how I care for myself. You know what I'm saying? So I really hear you about the reciprocal relationship, because sometimes I almost feel like I'm cheating, Key.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, one of the approaches, I think, is we shouldn't speak to make them listen.
Yeah, I hear that.
We should speak so that
Yeah.
they hear. Because whether or not they listen at that moment, they heard you.
They heard.
And that's the concept of planted seed.
Right.
So we go in there where we want to make them listen, because that's more for us. We want instant gratification. We want to see the fruits of our labor.
Right.
But that's not what we go into it for.
Yeah.
Our only objective is to, give forth what we've given. And I use poetry to do that.
Right.
Because, see, there's different ways of speaking to people. You speak to people with vibration, you speak to people with energy, and you speak to people with space. Those are all of our
What do you mean space?
If I come and walk up on you, you're going to let me know that I violated the space.
Oh, you literally mean space.
Space.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
Okay,
When you extend the hand to shake,
right.
that's space.
Yeah.
Because there's different rituals in regards to handshaking or greeting. The Native American used to raise their right hands out, and there was a shake where it was closer to the chest, and oftentimes you would hear different reasons why they did certain things, make sure that there was no weapons, or they indicate that there was no weapons, but there was a communication based on space.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Hey, can I offer this real quick? I feel the need to say this. Like with me, I think I'm far beyond, not just with young people, but people in general. I almost express myself as a means of expressing my indebtedness that I'm alive and that I'm blessed. When I talk about the universe, I also use the name Jehovah, but it's really as an expression of my indebtedness. But when I talk with young people, I do speak with a sense of urgency as it relates to some things. Not that I want to force people to accept my perspective, Because growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I already observed where that's no good, right? Going knocking on people's doors and basically saying things to undermine their faith and tell them if you don't accept this, what I'm forcing down your throat, right? And seeing that reaction. But I think what it is for me is being 47 and seeing a generation who have participated in certain behaviors where at first it was all fun and games until it ain't fun and games. And then all of a sudden seeing like, oh wow, you presume everyone's gonna be okay. Then one day you realize like, oh no, some people might be gone forever.
But see, that's the part of imagination that the youth don't have. Yeah. You gotta think, forethought, they've only had a certain amount of years of life experience, to go on. So it ain't like that they can draw back to a bunch of lessons or personal experiences to make a decision, a proper decision that would benefit them. So
I'm
that's
most
what we're
passionate when I talk with young people. Because one of the things I don't want to do, I never want 10 years from now or 15 years from now, I don't ever want someone to look at me and be like, hey, if you really had cared, if you were concerned with my well-being,
you would have said,
you would have said something. You would have let.
But you know what? I want to go back to something because you said something and about I'm going to make some people mad when I talked about the Native American. I didn't get to finish.
Okay, go ahead.
That was left out there. But because there's nothing offensive about it, it's the truth.
Yeah. But the truth offends people oftentimes.
That's not my concern.
Right.
I'll be wasting too much energy,
and it can't be your concern.
That's too much energy, man, to be, putting into whether or not somebody swallows the truth well or not. That's not for me,
Real life.
But there's the thing. The truth is, 13,000 years ago, Siberians crossed the Bering Straits into America. This is what we're taught. This is what anthropologists say. This is what geneticists say. Now, who was here when they got here? Because you're not going to tell me that the entire continent of America was unpopulated by human beings until 13,000 years ago. Because that's contradicting to the bones being pulling up out of the grounds in South America, and Central America, and North America, which have all have been identified as Negro phenotype. Now, just facts that they don't want to put into a history book. These people are called Aboriginal Americans. Autochthon Americans. Why haven't we ever referred to a Native American as an Aboriginal American?
I don't know why. Why?
No, you tell me why. Because they're not Aboriginal Americans.
Gotcha.
See, to be Aboriginal means you're the original person of that continent.
Gotcha.
You're the first people of that continent. Well, the walls of in the temples of South America and Mexico tell you who they were. The Olmec stoneheads tell you who they were. That's why I say the evidence is there. Ivan Van Sertima wrote a book years ago. He told
about
you
the visual, my brother, about the stoneheads you just mentioned. Are we
stoneheads.
Referring to the ones with Negroid features?
Yeah.
But break that down, because everybody.
Well, see, that's the thing.
So go look it up.
You look at always. Anything I say, go look it up. Don't ever take my word for face value about anything. I am only a man and I'm capable of errors. Now, here's the thing. When you go and study this stuff, you find that over 50,000 years ago, they have a bones called Lucia, which is the oldest bones. She's Negro. They say her DNA, genetics, all of that. She's a combination between Aboriginal in Australia and Aboriginal in East Africa. That would make us. You see what I'm saying? Gotcha. They're not Australian Aboriginals, nor are they Africans. But they're a combination of the two.
Okay.
That would be us. But they don't want to tell you about that part.
Why not? Why wouldn't they?
Because
what are the implications?
Once you were identified as slaves and they came and conquered us, the objective was to remove us from connection to the land. Any type of colonial power is, the word colonize means to remove. It means to remove. So the objective is to remove you away from the land. And here's the thing. It wasn't until the early 20th century that they started teaching that we was from Africa. They never told us that. They brought slaves from Africa, but but we were already here. We were a conquered and enslaved people. They told us that all of the early Indians that were first made contact